Alright, got a little bit of time before my day starts here. I'm waiting for a new crankshaft position sensor for that Accurate Legend behind me. I'm gonna go ahead and start the build series on this Gen 3 Hemi. It is an early style engine that I do plan on modifying into an Eagle hybrid by putting the later style cylinder heads on it and pumping the compression up. I'm gonna swap this into my 2002 Dakota SLT. It's got a 4.7 liter mated up to the 545 RFE transmission, which will accept the bell housing on this. I'm using mainly Hooker, Blackheart, Holley swap stuff. I've got the Hooker Blackheart swap manifolds. I tried to get the long tubes, well, not long tubes, but the tri-Y headers. But after waiting almost a year, I decided to pull a plug on that, and I went with the manifolds, which I guess it'll be a little bit easier in the long run, but we'll see. Right now, I'm just in the disassembly phase. I got the engine out of a 2008 Chrysler Aspen. Hopefully everything's good. Initial inspection, it turned over just fine. Check the oil coming out of it. You know, whatever little residual is left in the bottom of the pan, you can always get just a little bit more out of these in the junkyard, even though they drain them. There wasn't any metal shavings. There wasn't any brass bearing shavings. You know, those fine particles or anything. So I'm hoping it's a good engine. I'm going to delete the MDS on it and put it, and I'm going to stake the valve seats on these early style cylinder heads, and I'm going to run the engine pretty much as is after a good rebuild, and then I'm going to do the head swap later along with a camshaft and the 6.4 liter intake. I'll be tuning this on HP tuners, and I'm going to try and integrate everything pretty much as stock as possible into the truck, and I'm going to make it look about as stock as possible. So I'm going to go ahead and start tearing it down. And start with removing the coil packs. I got a box over here with extras, and I measured them up, compared side by side with the early style and the later style. There's no difference, so I'm just gonna throw them all in one box. These are held down with a 10 millimeter. I'm gonna use my 1/4 inch impact with a spool socket. I had already loosened a couple, 2 or 3. I also removed the intake to have a look at what the truck intake on the Eagle style heads look like on this engine. It was not good, not at all. I'll store the hardware in there too. Side. Whoa, that's no good. That's no good. It looks junky. It's alright. That's why we got extras. So I'm also trying to get this done, you know, at the beginning of my work day here. I don't know how far I'm gonna get along before I become interrupted with the usual activities. Just happen to have a moment here. Standing out of shot. Whoops. All right. 4 more coils. These all look much better. Alright, look at that. Whole box of coils. I'll bring them to the truck later. So next what I would do is pull the intake off. Again, when I brought this home from the junkyard, pulling it out of the Chrysler Aspen, you disconnect the harness from the vehicle and the PCM, or leave the PCM connected. But the harness stays on the engine when you're pulling it out. For those of you doing all your own work. So when I got home, I pulled the harness off of the motor, and that made things, obviously a lot easier to access, and started basically pulling off the crankcase ventilation, the secondary air injection, EGR, shit like that. Or maybe, I don't even know if this had secondary air. Either way, all the ancillary accessories and components, emissions and such, most of that's going to be pretty useless. I mean, except for the accessories. You're going to need those. You're going to need AC. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and pull the intake off. I've already, like I said, I already loosened the bolts and everything. Those are an 8mm. I would use actually my 3/8 drive impact with a extension and an 8mm. You can gain access to all the bolts from directly overhead. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and lift it off now, place it off to the side. I'll probably clean it somehow. Yep, MDS, as to be expected on 2008. Gross. Actually, not that gross. Just a little gross. And that insulator does a good job of keeping heat away from the intake and reducing noise from the camshaft and lifters. If it gets loud enough to where you can hear it through the insulation, then you know you got a problem. If it's quieter than you can barely hear it over the insulation, don't worry about it. Keep running it. It's a Hemi. So at this point, I'm gonna go ahead and pull the valve covers off using an 8mm on my 3/8 drive. Pull the engine away from the toolbox some more. Excuse me. One thing I did notice, I had a hole in my valve cover on this one. It's not good. Somebody had to break into it to steal a bolt off of one of the rockers. I don't know why they did that. Boy, I hope there's nothing wrong with this engine. We'll find out. Yeah. Well, it's dirty. Looks like it's got either a lot of miles or just went pretty long in between oil changes. But I don't see nothing broken. Not yet, at least. Oh boy, it's pretty dirty though. Alright, next I'm going to go ahead and turn it over. I did put a bolt down on there, so it, the one that was stolen. Yeah, go ahead and turn it over and see. Oh, they got little retainers on them. Sorry, these are not on the newer style engines. There's little retainers on these rocker shafts to hold your rockers in place during reassembly. Well, I mean, not really in place, but like all the way up against the bolt stop. That's impressive. I don't know why they stopped doing that. Got back on cost, maybe. Anyways, let's go ahead and turn the engine over and just have a look at valve train movement. You know, see how that goes. All right, I'm using a 21 millimeter on a 1/2 inch drive socket wrench. Wrong answer, McFly. Pull the spark plugs first. Alright, using a spark plug adapter on a 6-inch extension on the end of a 3/8 inch ratcheting socket wrench. Go ahead and loosen up all these spark plugs. Now, if I wasn't pulling the cylinder heads off of this engine and fully disassembling it, rebuilding it and everything, I would have blown all the junk out of these spark plug tubes to prevent it from falling down into the cylinders as I'm loosening it. So maybe I'm not going to power this engine over. Maybe I'm just going to go ahead and disassemble. I'm going to edit that. Alright, problem number 1. Right here. Take a peek down in the bunch of gunk, bunch of oil leaked down the spark plug tubes and built up around the spark plug. I'm gonna have to break it away using a snap-on pry bar. Hardly making a dent. Let's try a smaller pry bar. It's getting in there pretty good. Let's see if I can get the tool down on it. Fully seated. Oh, it was already loose. That's why. Yep. That's why. Now, a lot of people disagree with my methods. Fuck. Damn. There's a lot of junk down in these freaking spark plug tubes. This video is going to be edited. I ain't got it running yet. I was on most of the nighter. I could only make it so far until I ran into the point where I got to put the timing belt on. Yeah, I need that. Well, I got it, but I need the crank angle crankshaft position sensor, and I can't put that on until I put the well, I got to put that on, and then I can put the camshaft sprocket on. Yeah. Look at me thinking about 2 engines at once. See what kind of condition each of these are in. A lot of people wouldn't do this because it risks breaking the spark plug. I know I'm throwing my spark plugs away. I know I'm taking the engine apart. Also, It's a slow speed battery ratchet, and with the adapter that I have on it to get to 3/8 drive from 1/4 inch drive, and you can see, whoops, you can see it's got a lot of flex and a lot of give, so it doesn't really hurt the spark plug. I haven't had one break on me going, taking one apart. Going back together is another story. I would never use this to go back together. Right, they are not coming out on their own. Rubber's still on there. Not anymore. Champions! Somebody is an old school Mopar enthusiast working on this thing. That's right. That thing. I'm going to use NGK. Because I know who makes a superior spark plug these days. Dang, look at these bad boys. I'm gonna land a jumbo jet in that spark plug gap. Somebody really drove the hell out of this thing. I'm willing to bet once the MDS gave up the Ghost, they decided that's too much money. They weren't gonna deal with it. Yeah, they all look terrible. They all look absolutely horrible. Like they've been on there for 100,000 miles. Alright. Every one of these spark plugs looks like it's got 100,000 miles on it. Nice. I love it. It just looks like a really fucking wore out ass motor. It's got a bunch of miles on it. And when it got to the point that it was skipping because of the NDS. Alright.
He said Corber is like,
yeah, what the fuck are you thinking? I got all the spark plugs out. I'm going to turn this over and observe my valve train movement. Good movement on all of them. That's what I'm talking about. Okay. Now, using a hand tool, I'll go ahead and break free all these rocker shafts. Got a little bit of time before that crankshaft position sensor shows up, I'm sure of it. Seeing what I can do here. There's some tightness. It's also center out. To make sure I'm looking that up, I'm doing that right. Break out the old laptop here. Let's see what they say on all data. There's an 8. Chrysler truck. Aspen 4x4. 5.7. The engine. Head assembly, rocker arm assembly, removal and replacement, removal. Okay. Please insert your special tool. Yep, center out. Okay. front. Center out. Your first bolt from the center is to the front.
Started taking shit on the Lexus.
And boy, is that chassis a piece of shit.
What?
That fucking ES350 Toyota Avalon chassis.
Oh, like the other ones he's got?
Yeah, the 2GRFE.
Yeah, I hate that.
Fuck that shit. God damn. The only Toyota that I tell people stay the fuck away from.
You can't leave on that street shit for 100 years now. I done told him more times than you have to get rid of it.
It's gonna have different geometry on it too. I'm willing to bet these shafts are not interchangeable. The last one. Ugh. I hate that they make you do it like that. It's so fucking weird. But never had one break, never had one warp, never had an issue. These rocker shafts have not been an issue since they took dowels out of them. So y'all know which engines I'm talking about. Okay. Well, I got some pre-Eagle push rods to remove and place in a spot where they all look like they're lining up just fine. Okay. Now, I think that's going to just about do it for today, unless I really take the time to cover off. Sure, I feel like doing that. I'd love to see what the inside of this engine looks like though. Nah, I think if I start cleaning up now, I might get my part just in time. So I'm gonna call it quits. Boy, I ain't touching them bearings. That spins real nice. Oh man, I'm not ready. Why does it do this to me? Alright, well, anyway, while I adjust the selfie stick here, let's go ahead and discuss what happened. Finished tearing down the Hemi a little bit more. I don't know if I'm going to go any further with it. I got a video, well, I'm going to send the video too, that way it's in there. Got a video of the bottom end, and it looks pretty good. Really, really good actually for the amount of miles it's got on it. Oh, here we go. I can actually show you one of these connecting rod bearings here. Like, man, that's pretty dang good. That's pretty dang good. So I'm gonna go ahead and I mean, you can clearly see This thing had to have been burning some oil. Get into shot there. I don't know. It's the blow by looked pretty good. So gonna go ahead and re-ring it. I don't think I'm gonna change out the bearings. I think I'm just gonna put it all right back in. I'm gonna clean everything out real good and put a new oil pump in it. All the swap stuff that's got to go into it. I got that truck oil pan for it, and a rear sump pickup tube that's around here somewhere. I got it. Some swap manifolds. They look very similar to stock manifolds, right? But they're opened up a little bit more, so they definitely flow a little bit better. They're not long tubes. I waited almost a year for a word from Holly to see if they even had started on the tri-Y headers that I was going to go with, but they ended up not getting back to us, so I canceled the order. I said, if you guys don't have it on a jig right now, forget it. So, well, that's what I'm gonna end up doing. I'm still undecided. I may do the adapters for the old style intake manifold to go on the Eagle heads. We'll see. Depends on if I feel like spending the money on premium fuel. Anyway, either way, we're gonna do some footage on rebuilding the cylinder heads. For now, just gonna clean up the pistons, put them in the hot tank and well, the parts washer. Gonna clean up the pistons, put them in the parts washer, and that's gonna do it for today. Really, it's simplistic stuff right now. There's nothing really. I mean, this is very easy and rudimentary engine disassembly stuff that I'm doing right now. Let me set up the stand on the toolbox here. Wow. Keeping everything well organized. Don't mind this stuff. There's other things going on, but what I did was I took an impact punch, right? It's not a regular hammer punch, right? I highly suggest getting one of these. They're pretty sweet. What you can do is just press it down like that, and it makes a nice little divot. And that's what I ended up doing on the bottom sides of all of these pistons here, so I knew which number goes where. And yeah, I can throw them all in the machine at the same time, and I know they're all gonna go back right where they. Okay, so real quick, as I'm taking the rings off of these pistons, it being a used engine, one of the things that I'm looking for to determine if there were any issues is some actually friction welding that occurs on the rings. Usually on your compression ring, if things got too hot, or if they weren't sealing correctly, too tight maybe, you'll see some of the piston material actually fuse to the piston ring, and I don't believe I'm seeing any, so it's looking like a good motor.